One thing we're really looking at is getting our own drone for certain types of aerial application, and that could help. There's times too in the spring when you'd like to be maybe terminating something, applying something, but the ground conditions aren't good. You could do it with a drone, and that would really greatly, increase the flexibility what you could do with some of this stuff.
Hi, and welcome to Illinois Corn TV. I'm Leyton Brown, a specialist with Precision Conservation Management, and today I'm talking with Dirk Rice, a farmer near Champaign, Illinois, who has been with PCM since its inception and also serves on our advisory board. Dirk, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be with you.
All right, well, I'm going to jump right into the questions. So, what data or results from PCM have helped you to make a tough decision on your farm, or just in general have helped you to change a practice or adopt a new practice?
I was really the practices I'm doing now, I was all doing before PCM was even formed. I haven't really changed anything, but it's helped to reinforce that what I'm doing is a good practice over, a lot of acres, not just my own. If you can think things are working on your farm, but seeing that it's working over a large acreage and a lot of different operators is always reassuring, and it lets you know that you're still pointed in the right direction.
For sure. Well, can you think of a time when maybe something didn't go as planned or didn't work the way you expected? And if so, what did you learn from that? And did the PCM data help out with identifying that at all?
Well, yeah, every year there's something, and that's you're working with, the cover crops. Every year we learn something new. My son is using the cover crops with his cow-calf operation. And so there's times that, we just took the cows off a field that I planted 2 days ago, like a day before that. And depending on the weather, how the spring has gone, there's times that, the field is very plantable. There's times that it's gotten hard and rough, and we've actually had to do a little tillage on it just to try to, make it plantable. You learn different things about, as far as terminating the crops. We've tended to let stuff go until we terminate the day before we're going to plant. And there's time, I know, like for year to year, there's a lot of variability in how, especially cereal rye, how big it gets. We had some last year that was 7 feet tall, which I'd never seen anything even approaching that. Now this year, it's not even 3 foot tall and it's headed out. So, you get different varieties of birds. So you kind of learn, to watch that. There's a point when whether or not you're ready, you better be terminating. The no-till, the conservation practices I continue to kind of refine, and that's where precision agriculture has really helped. Better row units. My row units all work individually now, as opposed to being just on a spring system where you average over the whole planter. The guidance is good where I can avoid the wheel tracks every year. I mean, I run the same set of wheel tracks with all my equipment, and and so the compaction is kind of limited to that area. And so but you're constantly refining that. And so there's just things every year that you're always hoping you have it figured out, but there's always something you can do a little better.
For sure. And you mentioned a lot of new practices there that you've already implemented, and also being reactive a bit. But is there any new technologies or practices on the horizon that you're maybe thinking about implementing this year or in the near future?
Oh, one thing we're really looking at is getting our own drone for certain types of aerial application, and that could help. There's times too in the spring when you'd like to be maybe terminating something, applying something, but the ground conditions aren't good. You could do it with a drone, and that would really greatly, increase the flexibility what you could do with some of this stuff. And then, like I said, the guide, having the guidance with RTK, where we finally got it to the point where, we're 100% spot on repeatability. And that's helped tremendously, because I'm planting corn into strips, and it's just critical that just does not work very good without that kind of repeatability. So that's, and then even bean wise, where we plant beans, we're still avoiding, even though we're planting 15-inch rows, for the most part, we're avoiding wheel tracks with the actual, where the beans are actually getting planted. So, that all helps a lot.
For sure. All right. Well, a lot of our, those watching may be farmers themselves and may be curious about conservation. So is there any advice that you would give to a farmer who is curious about conservation, but maybe afraid that it won't pay off or work on their farm? What would you say to them?
People made it work everywhere. So I'm sure it'll work. You can kind of look at someone in the neighborhood that's doing it. It will, like everything, everything works better on better soils. But I think long term, the benefit on lower organic matter soils is going to be greater. There's more challenges in making it work on that type of soil too. So you start with something, smaller acreage that you're comfortable with, and kind of see what happens. Because like I said, until you jump in to something with both feet, you can read all you want, you can look at all the stuff online you want, until you've got it growing in your field and your actual feet on the ground there, you're not going to have the full grasp of what's going to happen or what could happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. At PCM, we're always encouraging growers to start small and start on their own acres, that way they can get a better understanding of it themselves, but also utilizing long-term adopters like yourself that can maybe help get them over or through some hurdles. So last question I have is what technologies, you've mentioned a lot already, but anything additional worth sharing as far as technology goes, or anything new that you'd recommend to farmers to implement?
Well, as I said, and a lot of this stuff's become pretty common anymore, but if you can have RTK or equivalent guidance wise, that's critical with what I'm doing. There's different companies, including the main equipment companies that have row units that all work individually as opposed to averaging across the whole planter. That's kind of critical, because your ground, you're going to have more variability row to row, where you're not doing that tillage, which evens everything up. So that's pretty critical.
Well, now's the part in our podcast where we move on to our not to be corny dad joke segment. So Dirk, not to be corny, but why did the cover crop go to therapy?
Oh boy. You got me. I don't.
Because it had deep-rooted issues.
Well.
That's pretty bad. Well, thanks again, Dirk, for joining us today on Illinois Corn TV.
Good. Thank you.